All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending. Tonight's virtual public meeting outlines the Phase 1 construction for the Eastex Freeway 4 Subdivision Sections 3 and 4 drainage improvements. My name is Fred Mall with Friesen Nichols, supporting the Harris County Engineering Department. I'll be your moderator for this evening. The Drainage Improvement Project is brought to you by the Harris County Precinct Number 2, Harris County Flood Control District, and the Harris County Engineering Department. Welcome and thank you for joining us virtually today as we take precautions to stay safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. For today's meeting, the Harris County Engineering Department will present the Phase 1 drainage improvements, followed by a Q&A session and the conclusion of the meeting. Before we begin the presentation, I would like to present Commissioner Adrian Garcia, who will provide opening remarks. The floor is yours, Commissioner.
Thank you so very much, and good evening, everybody. Buenas noches, gracias por acompañarnos. Listen, I am so excited about tonight's conversation, but before we begin, I do want to speak a little bit about what's been happening lately, and that's the pandemic. Look, we've lost a lot of friends and family all around us during the last 2 years. I want to keep from losing more, but I need your help. I hope that every one of you will have already gotten the vaccine, but if you haven't, and if you're hesitant, I completely understand. But all I ask is that you please visit with your doctor, visit with a healthcare professional, get your questions and concerns answered, and hopefully that will lead you to getting your vaccine, because we're finding that the vaccine is truly saving lives. And I hope that we can get all of our community fully vaccinated so that we can have a much more pleasant holiday season this year than we had last year. But now for what brings us here today, is the fact that the Eastex Freeway, Forest Section 3 and 4 Drainage Improvement Project. Folks, I am so excited. This is nearly a $2.1 million investment that we're making in your area, 2.08 million to be exact. But the reality of it is that this is a part of my Revive to Thrive initiative. And what that basically means is that we are doing so much to make sure that Precinct 2 is the best place to live, work, and play. But in order for it to be that, we got to keep you from flooding. And I know that so many of you went through flooding with Allison, with Harvey, with Imelda. Probably you even had some trouble with Katrina and Rita and Ike. And so I want to make sure that we are paying attention to those neighborhoods that have long had chronic flooding challenges, but have had very little strategic investment. So Revive is revitalizing without necessarily gentrifying the community. And that is how we're going to make your neighborhood thrive once again. So make sure that when you step out your door, you can be proud of the work that has been done and proud of where you live. And the fact that you live in the Aldine area is important to me. So I want to make sure that you know that this is not the only thing happening, but we are doing so much. But this is the area that we have begun our most critical level of work is in the Aldine area. And we're going to take your model and take it across Precinct 2 into other areas. So I'm very excited, and I want to thank everyone on the call today, the consultants, but especially I want to thank my engineering department for their very important and detailed work. They've helped to put this strategy together. And so I'm very excited about all the work that they've done thus far. And so now, as we begin this project, you know, I want to make sure we've started a broad conversation early on. Now we're bringing to you some updates, but the work will begin immediately, folks. And listen, many of you are probably, if not all of you, are probably saying, yay, we're going to fix the drainage and we're going to improve the community. That's great. Please continue to celebrate that, because when we do the work, there will be some inconvenience. So all I ask is to please be a little patient with us. We want to get in there, get in, get out. This project will take us several months to do, approximately about 4 months, assuming that the weather cooperates with us. But the faster that we can get to work, the faster we can get done, and the faster you can begin to enjoy your beautiful neighborhood once again. So this is all intended, again, to reduce the number of homes and businesses in this area that have flooded, to keep them from flooding yet once again. That's been my commitment to you, and I am excited that we are at this point of getting it done. And so I want to thank Selena in particular with my office. She's been out there beating the pavement, working and talking to many of you in the community. And we're always available to you for any questions that you may have. I ask that you be sure to visit us at hcp2.com. That's our website. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, because that's where we put up to the date information, whether it's to the pandemic, whether it's to our projects or any other things that we have going on. And I also want to make sure to remind you that if you are having trouble paying your rent as a result of the pandemic, our rental assistance program is still open and there's still opportunity to apply for assistance there. So please be sure to look for that information. You can find information about our rental assistance at, let me find, we'll post the website here in the chat in a little bit. I want to make sure to get it right, but we've got a lot going on. That's where you will get information about all of our projects, all of our efforts to help the community. And don't forget that in a few weeks, James Driver Park, which is close to your community, will be opening, and we want to invite you to come and celebrate the beautiful new James Driver all-inclusive park. And if you know someone, adult or child, that may have a physical or cognitive disability, I want you to bring them over to the James Driver Park, because it's all inclusive for everyone, people with disabilities as well as people without. We want the community to be a community no matter what, and that park is going to bring us all together. I'm so excited. I'm very proud of it, and I know that you will be as well. So with that, I'll just turn it over to everyone. But again, I want to thank you all for the input you've given us through this process, the engagement that you have been participating in. And remember, in Precinct 2, we talk about engage, empower, and educate. And we're working to do all three of those every single day. So be sure to stay involved so that we can keep you posted on all the work being done. But again, I'm looking forward to riding my bike through your community once this incredible project is done. It's going to be fantastic. And we're excited about the flood reduction strategy that it will bring to your community, keeping your homes and your businesses safe from flooding again in the future. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the folks for this call. But again, it's a pleasure and honor to join you, at least through Zoom. I want to see you in person soon, but the only way that's going to happen is that we continue to wear a mask, get that shot in the arm, and encourage others. Oh, and that's what I forgot to mention. If you've already had your shot, thank you. Thank you. I'm fully vaccinated as well. So is my family. But I ask you now to be an ambassador of the vaccine, and be sure to go out and talk to your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers, and even strangers at the store. That's how we're going to get back together again. And I'm so looking forward to that. All right, guys, thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner. To give a general idea of the project, please look to your screen for a video of the drainage improvement project. All right. Before we get started, there's a few notes that I want to mention for today's meeting. All mics are muted during the presentation, and please submit all your questions in the Q&A session as circled on your screen right there following the presentation, and the question will be answered live by our panelists. We have Jesus Gonzalez, who is available to translate and answer questions in Spanish. Jesus?
Un traductor en español está disponible para preguntas enviadas en español.
Any questions that do not get answered will be documented and responded to at a later date. Questions can also be submitted anytime via email through the link that you see towards the bottom of your screen. We will now begin the engineering portion of our presentation, presented by David Collins with the Harris County Engineering Department and Scott Cunningham, the engineer of record. Go ahead, David. So might be technical difficulties with David. Scott, can you go ahead and...
I'm here now. This is David Collins of CEM Engineers, and I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Scott Cunningham of HR Green. He's the engineer of record, and he will give you a brief overview of the project. Scott.
Good evening, everybody. This is Scott Cunningham with HR Green, and I'm the engineer of record for this project. Let's go ahead and jump into the presentation. So the project goal for this project is obviously that we want to reduce the flood risk in the neighborhood and provide better conveyance through the neighborhood. This project's going to increase stormwater drainage out of the neighborhood by increasing the size of drainage pipes, increase drainage by lowering the road and adding storage to the neighborhood, and also widening the roads Bethany Lane and Bow Lane, kind of deepen it a little bit. When these roads are lowered and additional storm inlets and pipes are installed, the water level on the streets will be reduced during storm events. Another couple of things that we will be doing on this project are replacing the sidewalk on McNaughton Drive and doing a few minor water line adjustments. Next slide, please. The project area is about 18 acres, and it's in this green box here. It's surrounded with by Marquita Lane, Bow Lane, Bethany Lane, and the southern boundary is Winfield Road. The eastern boundary is McNaughton Drive. The subdivision drains to McNaughton Drive and then goes down to Winfield and west to a drainage ditch that is a tributary to Greens Bayou. Next slide, please. So on this slide, I'd like to first point out how we do our pavement on the project. And the first thing to look at is the right-of-way limits, which is the red dashed line. That right-of-way is typically the public road property, the county's property. And that line is typically 10 to 12 feet behind the pavement or outside of the pavement. Rainfall usually is directed to the streets, which are graded toward the storm inlets, which you can see are the boxes down here in the bottom left. And then those take in stormwater, send it to the underground storm sewer pipe, and eventually outfall to the tributary to the west of the subdivision, that drainage ditch. When installing new storm pipes and pavement, adjustments to the driveways and the sidewalk will be required. The driveway adjustments will end at this red right-of-way line. Next slide, please. So what are a few things that the residents can expect? Well, in phase one, this project has, well, let me start off. They have two phases. This is phase one, and the construction is going to be around 4 months. Phase two is going to come in almost right after that, and the drainage improvements are going to be along Winfield Road, which is south of the subdivision, and that's going to go from McNaughton all the way to the ditch. So you can expect some construction noise between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., normal working hours. And some of the partial infringement on the right-of-way is due to construction. It's going to require temporary relocation of some items, and we'll get into that here shortly. Next. So some of the construction equipment that you'll see out there, they'll be out there with pipes and other equipment that you'll see, and I'll get to those here in a little bit on another slide. Some driveway access is going to be coordinated during the construction. You'll have to drive slowly around construction. Two-way traffic that you normally are used to will be one-lane traffic when it's under construction. You will not be able to park on the street when there's one-lane traffic areas. Next slide. So with this slide here, you see this right-of-way line again. This is the red line that's outside of the pavement. There's some items that are going to be removed, and this is public property. Mailboxes will be removed and replaced by the contractor. Encroachments, which are walls, fences, planters, and canopies that are located within the public road right-of-way, will be the responsibility of the owner to remove prior to construction. Next slide, please. So for the construction sequence, usually start with stormwater pollution prevention controls, traffic, and then they start doing the construction with laying pipe for storm sewer and water. Sequencing this project will provide access to certain areas within the subdivision. Typically, we sequence the projects to install storm sewer and other underground utilities in separate phases from the above ground work, such as pavement and sidewalks. So they'll finish off with sidewalk and road construction and then do landscaping towards the end. Next, please. This is an example of a stormwater pollution prevention control called silt fence. Stormwater pollution prevention is normally heard as SWIP or SW3P. They're put in place to prevent sediment from leaving the site and depositing in storm sewer systems and drainage channels. The contractor will be establishing these controls and clean them frequently throughout construction. Next slide, please. Traffic control, as I touched on earlier in this project, will be similar to traffic control you see around the county. There will be certain sections blocked off during each phase of the project to allow the contractor to perform their work. Traffic will be redirected around the construction until construction has been completed in that section. Next, please. As I mentioned earlier, here's a few of the construction equipment that you'll see out here. On the very left, you have a trench box, which prevents the walls from caving in while they're installing underground utilities. The next one with a handheld machine is a compactor that compacts the dirt after they refill the trench. And then the big machine on the right is a dozer, dirt trucks. And you'll see those moving around occasionally. Sometimes they will leave some of the equipment on site overnight for work the next day. Next slide, please. So into the project, this is a phase 1 project of the project. And this is everything north of Winfield Road. So phase 1 has 4 steps. Step 1 is storm sewer installation on McNaughton. It'll take about 30 days, and that's in pink. Step 2 in yellow is the western roadway improvements on McNaughton, which is about 30 days. And the green is step 3, which are the east roadway improvements on McNaughton, another 30 days. And the final piece will be the cul-de-sac work in blue, step 4. That's roadway and storm improvements on Bow and Bethany. The contractor will most likely install one half of the road and leave the other half open for traffic during these construction sequences. Next, please. Here's a look at the storm sewer. You kind of saw it in the video in blue. Here it is in yellow. The phase 1 is basically what we're doing is the existing storm sewer along McNaughton is going to be removed and replaced with a larger storm sewer. That means we're gonna have to replace the inlets as well at Marquita, Bow, and Bethany with larger storm inlets. An additional storm line will be extended along Bethany and Bow and will include a pair of inlets at the end of those to collect more storm water and allow more water to get out of the streets, out of your neighborhood. Next slide. This slide shows the future phase 2 of the 2-phase project. So this would be the last phase, and that's along Winfield Road, and that's including storm sewer down and pavement improvements down Winfield from McNaughton to the drainage ditch out to the west. Next, please. Benefits to the community. So you'll get new concrete road pavement on Bethany, Bow, and McNaughton Drive. The new larger storm sewer pipes are going to be able to carry more water and drain the subdivision faster. And drainage improvements are designed for the 100-year storm event. Lowering these pavement provides more storm water storage in the streets, which removes it from structures. Next slide, please. For the construction management team and the contractor throughout this project, we have 3 contacts here. Gregory Johnson with FCM Engineers will be the project construction manager, and his phone number is listed here. Eshwar Nataki with FCM Engineers will be the inspector. His phone number is also listed here. And Hector Aranda with Aranda Brothers Construction will be the contractor on site daily. Next slide, please. Well, that's the end of mine, and I appreciate everybody's time, and thank you for coming out tonight. Everyone's worked really hard on this project, on this subdivision, and we hope to have a successful project. And we will look forward to hearing from you on your questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So we will now open the questions and answer portions for any questions related to the drainage improvement project. Just so you all know, this is the list of panelists that one person from this list will be answering your questions or today or at a later date. As a reminder, you can submit questions for a live response using the Q&A function as outlined in the yellow circle on your screen towards the bottom of your screen. The questions will be verbally answered by one of the panelists that was in the previous slide in the order that they are submitted in the Q&A section. Jesus Gonzalez will translate and answer questions in Spanish. Jesus?
Un traductor de español está disponible para preguntas enviadas en español.
Any questions that do not get answered will be documented and responded to at a later date. Questions can also be submitted anytime after this meeting via the email shown at the bottom of your screen. Now we'll have Justin Tran start answering or verbally voicing any questions that are going through the Q&A section. Justin?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Apologies in advance if I mispronounce any names, but our first outstanding question is from Mrs. Marina Sugg. Dustin Pope is currently answering this question, but I'll just bring it up to the panelists as well. How will this project affect our neighborhood, which is directly across Aldine Mail from EFF Section 3 and 4? Many of the streets in Section 1 and 2 already hold a lot of water during a hard rain, like the one we had last week.
So this is Dustin Pope, program manager for Precinct 2. So the key to this project is kind of twofold. So we're working on reducing the elevation of specific streets within the subdivision, while also increasing kind of our stormwater conveyance, pushing that more of that stormwater to the western ditch. Hence, the overall intended effect is a reduced risk of flooding based off of how the neighborhood currently sits.
Thank you, Dustin. Next question comes from Cloud Dietz. They would like to know, I want to know more about this 500-year floodplain. Also, this new project going on next to us is flooding us now.
So for Claude, again, this is Dustin. Not currently aware of for the project going on next to the neighborhood. I'll have to look into that. Efrain or Scott, did you guys have anything as part of your model for the subdivision?
We didn't see any additional projects next to this.
Okay. So for Claude, that's a good question. Let us look into that and see if we can get an answer.
All right, and Marina has another question. Would you repeat where this water is going to drain to? The western ditch, is that Boreas? Homes closest to the Boreas ditch flood the most.
This is Scott Cunningham, engineer record. I'm not familiar with the name Boreas, the Boreas ditch, but it is called P118-19. Harris County has channel IDs. The channel ID for this project is P118-19-00, and that's at the western end of Winfield Road. So it's basically at the dead end. There's a ditch over there.
Hey, Scott.
Yes.
Scott, this is Selena Valdez. I believe the Boreas ditch that they're talking about runs parallel. So does the P118 that you're talking about over there off of Winfield, does that run all the way to Greens Road from, because Winfield runs east and west. And so does the P118 ditch that you're referring to run north and south?
Well, it starts draining south, and then once it gets to Winfield, it actually hooks to the left and goes west. And then it goes west for a while and then turns again to the south.
So does it end up in Greens Bayou or Halls Bayou?
I believe it's Halls Bayou.
Perfect, thank you.
And so this, I know we had a couple of questions that we answered, but this video will be provided. So we're recording this video, so this will be available for everybody on the call.
Okay, now we've got another question from Jose Sains. When will we see the construction begin on Bow Lane? The street floods with any strong rain. The ditch behind the street be made deeper, or will there be a retention pond made nearby? It really gets bad on this section.
Bow Lane, I think, is towards the end of this construction. So I think three months in. And the ditch behind the street, it will not be made deeper. That's not a part of this project. And there is not a retention basin proposed in this project. The storage that a retention pond would provide to the community was actually looked at, but we decided to lower the roads and provide the storage in the streets. And then that would be able to convey out of the streets and out of the neighborhood.
Thank you, Scott. And again, to all attendees, if you'd like to submit any questions, if you look into the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, there will be a Q&A function, and you can submit any questions you've got. Panelists here have until 7:30 to answer all of your questions, so just take your time and provide any input that you've got. Okay, we've got a question from Claude Dietz. The area is Sequoia Estates off of Aldine Bender. This is a major problem due to all of the 500-year floodplain, in which you did not comment on.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think maybe it may be maybe there's some confusion. I know we had a slide that showed the 500-year floodplain that was north.
Oh yeah, on that that video, there's a 500
Yep.
floodplain north of Aldine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sequoia Estates. When we do these projects, we're looking at an isolated area, which were sections 3 and 4. And we were trying to help this subdivision out. Now, the sections 1 and 2 were not part of our scope of work to look into, but if you bring up this point of 500-year, the county has other projects I'm sure they're familiar with looking into this area, but not in this project.
And this is David Brown with HR Green as well. I may be able to help out here. I believe Aldine Mail Route Road, just to the north of sections 3 and 4 subdivision that we are focused on with this project, is raised up a little bit in terms of the elevations. And so when we were looking at the topography of the area and the subdivision, we were not seeing any impacts coming from areas adjacent further north of the subdivision going into sections 3 and 4. So again, just focused on the local subdivision.
All right, thank you, David. We've got the next question coming from Marina Sugg. You mentioned the 100-year floodplain. Would you explain that? We've already had numerous floods in the last few years, much less in the next 100 years.
So the 100-year floodplain. Typically we use 100-year. It's a little bit easier to say, but 100-year means that you have a 1% chance every year. Starting over in January, you have a 1% chance to have that powerful of a storm every year.
Thank you, Scott. And here we've got a question from Gabriel. Will the same mailbox be returned?
I'm not sure if I can answer that one, Dustin.
So all mailboxes will, I guess I would ask, is it a special type mailbox? But in general, all mailboxes will be, if they're removed, they will be replaced. Now, if somebody has a special mailbox, obviously we'll do our part to take care of it. I know some people have some special mailboxes that they keep in the family or that somebody's made for them. So. And just in general, for everybody on the line, we'll make sure we extend some courtesy. So typically, our team, Harris County, will utilize door hangers to make sure we're coordinated with the residents. We kind of laid out the phases. They're roughly 30-day phases. But as we start moving deeper into the subdivision, making sure that, again, we're keeping everybody in the know on what's kind of happening. And same thing, we have points of contact within this presentation. So the construction manager and their team. So you'll have points of contact. If you have any additional questions outside of this meeting, we can field as well.
All right. Claude has another question. The project that they were previously mentioning is the Aldine Pine project. Yes, the problem is real and upsetting to our neighbors through these people building up their property. These people have now lived here for about 40 years and are now taking on water.
Project is Aldine Pine. So again, this is Dustin Pope again. So I'm not aware of that specific project, but again, I can look into it and try to get an answer at a later date.
And Dustin, this is Scott. I wanted to add on to that. And this project that we're doing will help with that drainage. That's the point of this project, is to help water get out of your subdivision and into that ditch. So we're lowering the roads, which allows that water to leave. So hopefully after that project is done and then ours is completed, you won't see any more of that flooding.
All right,
Correct.
and the next question is coming from Hino Josa. So where are we going to get our mail?
Hey, Cameron, can you answer that one?
What was that, sir? Where are they getting the what?
So once we get to the point where we're operating within the right of way and having to temporarily remove the mailboxes, the question was where are the residents going to get their mail in the short window that their mailbox isn't up? Is it typically? Go ahead.
Typically, what they will do is they'll put up a temporary mailbox in place of where yours was at, so that you can still get your mail.
Okay.
They'll usually put it up on a post or on a temporary post.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Cameron.
Thanks, Cameron. Next question comes from Sandra Steed. So when is the project going to start?
So right now the project's slated to begin at the end of the month.
Thank you, Dustin. Next question from Jose Sains. Will there be more drains for the water to run down? Right now, there's only 2 at the entrance of each street. Will drains be added at the end of the street?
Thanks, Jose. This is Scott Cunningham, the engineer record. Yes, there will be more drains and we call those drains storm inlets. And we're also going to replace those storm inlets that you're referencing with bigger ones. On Bow and Bethany only will there be 2 more on each street, and it's going to be down there near the bulb of that cul-de-sac.
Hey, Fred, you mind flipping back to the phase 1 slide that had phase 1 through 4?
Sure.
Just in case we have some of the new callers.
And next question coming from Eric Say. In case of the project not working as intended and flooding is still an issue, what will be done after to ensure that the issue is resolved?
So I'll take this one. So again, this based on our modeling and design efforts, we're fully confident that the project will reduce the flooding risk. And again, this is drainage is a big thing for us here in Houston that we're continually looking at. If the project's done, and when we say done, that's phase 1 and phase 2, with phase 2 being along Winfield Road. So in the future, if we're still not seeing the benefit that we had designed for, then that's something that we'll bring up with Harris County and Precinct 2 to make sure that we can get it addressed. But the intent, based off our design, we're fully confident that we'll be reducing the flood risk within this neighborhood. But again, just to kind of reiterate, so you can kind of see on the screen, if you can see the screen, we have for phase 1, so being McNaughton, Bethany, Bow Lane, Marquita Lane, you can see step 1 doing some of the storm sewer installation along McNaughton that runs north-south, roughly 30 days. You'll see step 2 is some of the roadway improvements on the west side on McNaughton. Step 3 being the east side roadway improvements along McNaughton, and then capped off with step 4, which is roadway and storm improvements on Bow and Bethany lanes. Again, each phase roughly about 30 days.
Thank you, Dustin. Next question comes from an anonymous attendee. I've been in my home for 45 years. First time flooded during Imelda. I'm on McNaughton near Winfield. Property behind me on Winfield has built their property up, causing water to cascade into my yard. Is there anything that can be done to help this?
Well, I'll take a stab at it. This is Scott Cunningham, the engineer record. Imelda was a strong storm, and it was very heavy for a very short duration, and that caused a lot of issues because the inlets in your neighborhood are small, and also the pipes were blocked. We televised the storm sewer lines, and they were blocked. Someone had poured concrete in there at some point. Trash has been down there blocking flow. So just so you understand, we know that was a terrible storm, and Harris County has dedicated a lot of time and money to fixing issues caused by Imelda. The property, however, the private property, we can't fix that in this project per se, but to help you understand, our project usually grades, within the road right of way and the storm sewer and all the county's right of ways. So the road, they're supposed to grade to the streets, not onto your property. And I hope it doesn't cause any structural flooding on your property, but it should get to the streets and the inlets and into the storm sewers and out. And it will be doing that much quicker after this project has been completed.
Thank you, Scott. Next question comes from Emma H. What is the percent that is expected to improve?
Hey, David, David Brown, he's our modeling EI engineer. And he told us, you know, after we kind of look at how many homes can be fixed, and there's a percentage, and I think it was, you know, 80, what was it, 80 to 90%, David, that could be helped in this area. So if you're looking for a probability like that, there's many other metrics you can look at by percentage improvement. David?
Yes, to add, I guess at this time, you know, generally we did see a reduced flood risk throughout the subdivision and can give a more definitive response once we confirm those facts following this public meeting.
And again, for anyone that's somewhat new on the line, this presentation will be provided. That also includes the construction management team, their point of contact. So again, if you recently hopped on and you think of a question between now and the future, you'll have points of contact to reach out to help answer those questions.
And also, if you do end up thinking of a question post-meeting, refer to that link at the bottom of your sheet, of the slide, recovery@eng.hctx.net, which will also be documented and recorded.
Mhm. Let's give a few more minutes. We'll make sure we answer everybody's questions.
I think everybody's about ready to watch Monday Night Football.
All right. Any final? I'll give one more minute for the attendees for any final questions. Again, this will all go out. You'll have access to the presentation. We have the email recovery@eng.hctx.net. And then of course we'll have our actual construction management points of contact for this neighborhood. So if you, like I said, think of something between now and the future, you'll have easy access. So Fred, we'll give one more minute and then we'll sign off here.
Got it.
All right, we have a question from Marina Sugg. Would you please show the page that have the names and phone numbers of the engineers?
Sure thing.
Yeah, so
Thanks,
this
Fred.
the slide you see here. So you'll see, so FCM will be the construction manager team for this project. So you'll see Mr. Gregory Johnson, He's the project construction manager. Contact below. You'll see Eshwar as the resident inspector. And then from the contractor side, we'll have Mr. Hector Aranda from Aranda Brothers Construction. You have his phone number as well.
Here we have a question from Eric Say. If the residents run into any issues during the project, is that who we contact on the slide?
Yes.
I see Jose's comments. Appreciate that comment. This has been a huge initiative for Commissioner Garcia, making sure we're taking care of Precinct 2. So we're looking forward to this project as well, getting kicked off. And again, like he mentioned, we want to get in and get out, minimal disturbance to the neighborhood as possible. But also we're looking forward to the end state, reduce flooding risk for the entire that subdivision. So we're excited.
Hey, Dustin, this is Rich. If somebody loses this contact information that's in the presentation, there will also be a project sign up that will have a phone number on it that you can call.
Correct.
Hey, Dustin, regarding Claudia's concerns with the new development and flooding, Claudia, if in your next question, can you provide the address to the development? That way we can get with the permits office so they can see if one, if it's permitted, two, if it's being built according to approved plans, or if this development already has been constructed, if it was built in accordance with approved plans.
No, good comment. Thanks, Daniel. We got
Thank you, Claude.
the address from Claude. Thanks, Claude.
So Claudia, now that we have the address, we'll go ahead and do the research and inspection request, and then someone from our office will contact you with our findings.
All right, we have a couple more questions coming in right now. Gabriel is asking, will all the Winfield be fixed from 59 to the dead end?
No, it will stop. I think it's about 100 to 200 feet east of McNaughton. So it'll start 100 to 200 feet east of McNaughton Street, McNaughton Drive, and then it'll go west to the ditch.
All right, Fred, and I think that should wrap up all of the outstanding questions for us now.
Sir, sounds good. Well, thank you all attendees who were able to join this and provide us with some of your concerns tonight. If you still have any questions that come up later on, just as a reminder, the email provided on your screen at the very top, you can provide any questions that you have to that email, recovery@eng.hctx.net. And also as a reminder, tonight's presentation will be posted, including all the questions and concerns that you all had. So we appreciate you coming to this meeting, and we hope you have a great night.